Hi kids, it's Mr. D again. Now we're going to talk about how to use an array with base 10 blocks to divide. Let's remember our terms. If we have 10 divided by 5 equaling 2, 10 is the dividend, 5 is the divisor, and 2 is the quotient. Also, we're working with an array. So an array for the number 4 would look like this, which is an organized drawing. And this time we're going to use base 10 blocks. So a base 10 block for 100 would look like this. A base 10 block for the number 10 would look like this. And a base 10 block for the number 1 would look like this. So 111 would look like this. 111 would look like this. And you'll have to bear with my drawing because I'm not the best artist in the world. So let's talk about division. If we're dividing using an array, and we have a number like a problem like 8 divided by 2, we can do that very easily by setting up the divisor and then going through the steps of adding apples to our basket until we get to the number 8. Okay? And there's our array, and the answer is 4. Yes, I added one extra x. But let's say we have the number 80. Let's say we have the number 80 divided by 2, and we want to use an array. If we're going to use our old method of making x's for each apple, we would have to make a lot of x's. We'd have to make 40 down each side. But what if we use base 10 blocks? So we have 80. This is a better picture. Divided by 2. Well, we know that 80 in base 10 looks like this. 1, 2. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Oh, I added one too many in my drawings. Let me get rid of that one. Still learning how to use this. Okay. So we have 8 tens. So if I were going to do that, I could say, okay, I'm going to divide it into 2 baskets. So here's basket 1, and here's basket 2. And I'm going to take 110 here, cross it out, 110 here, cross it out, and go through the process of adding 10 apples at a time to each basket. So we have just created an array, and each one of these is 10. So in each basket, we have 10, 20, 30, 40 in each basket. So the answer would obviously be 40. But what if we want to do a more complicated problem? Well, there's actually a really easy system that we can use. and follow along with me and I'll show you how to do it. Let's start out with, say, 120 divided by 10. We have our dividend, our divisor, and we're looking for our quotient. The first thing that we do is we set up a little base 10 chart right here, just like this. Now right here we're going to put our divisor just like we did with our apples. Okay? And we're going to use base 10 blocks. So our base 10 blocks, we could draw 10 ones, but since we're using base 10 blocks, we can just draw 1 base 10. Now over here, we're going to write what 120 looks like in base 10 blocks. So we're going to use 100 and 2 10s. Okay? Now we're going to create our array. So this is 10 wide. The 100 is 10 wide as well. It's 10 wide and 10 tall. So we're going to take our 100 and we're going to put it right here. Okay? So this is 100. So we've already put 100 in this drawing. Now we have 10, 20 left. This is 10. So we can take one of these 10s and lay it sideways. Then we can take the second 10 and lay it sideways. And we have a very neat array. Now, we have to figure out the quotient. Okay? If we break this up into 10, each basket, if we drew this down, each basket would hold one of each. So there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And we can keep count over here using base 10. And the easiest way to do it is to use a single wide base 10 by however tall the base 10 block is that we're using inside of our array. So this is 10, this is 1, and this is 1. So we have 1 and 1. If we add those up, that equals 12. That's our quotient. And that goes up here. How do we check our answer? You're right. We just multiply the quotient by the divisor. And our divisor is 10. So our check every time would be quotient times divisor, which would be 12 times 10 120. So I used a very easy problem. Let's do one that's a little more difficult. Let's do 372 divided by 12. Let's set up our chart. Here's our It's a little bit off, but that's okay. First we start with our divisor, which is 12, and we're going to draw that in base 10 form. Right here. There's 10 and 2 1s. Now over here we're going to draw 372 in base 10 form. So we're going to need 3 100s. Remember our place value. 1, 2, 3. We're going to have 7 10s. And then we're going to have Those are our 7 tens. And then we're going to have 2 ones. Okay, so we have 3 100s, 7 tens, right here, and 2 ones. Now when we create our array, let's just imagine for a second that there's an imaginary line right here. We can't go past this line because we're trying to create an array, which is a rectangle. Okay? So let's start with our 100s. So we know that 100 will fit under this 10 because 100 is 10 wide by 10 tall. So let's take one 100. That might be a little too big. We'll make it work. This is one 100. So we've taken one of our hundreds down and put it over here. Now we have room. We have to fill in the rectangle here because we have to create an organized rectangle, an array. And we have 2 tens right here that we can use. So let's use 1 10 and 2 tens right here. All right, well, looks like we can use another 100. Let's do it again. And 2 more tens. And it looks like we can do it again. So here's our third 100. And 2 more tens. Okay. So what do we have left? We have 12 left. Well, the divisor does equal 12, so that should be a little hint for us that we can take this 10 right here and lay it sideways down here. And then these 2 singles. So now we have created an array, a nice, neat rectangle. And we have tens and ones. All our entire number is used. Okay? Now we have to figure out the quotient. So remember, these are 10 individual ones just stacked as one group of 10. So let's just go down and take one sliver, one wide of this section. So it would be 10 here. So we could write a 10 here. A 10 here, a 10 here, because remember we're figuring out how many apples go into 12, 372 apples are going into 12 baskets equally. And then there's 1 here. So we have 10, 10, 10, and 1. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 10 is 30. Add a 1, it's 31. Now how do we check? We have 31 times 12, which is quotient times divisor. Let's multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Add a placeholder for our tens. 1. 3 times 1 is 3. A little boo-boo there from Mr. D. 2, 7, 3, it checks. So, as you can see, we can use an array, which would be a lot easier than making 372 little x's. Okay? So that's how you use an array with base 10 blocks to do division of large numbers.